to Archbishop Henning, Bishop Lewandowski, Governor McKee, Senator Reed, Senator of the White House, Congressman Amo, Treasurer Diasa, Lieutenant Governor, thank you for your presence. To the judiciary, Chief Judge McConnell, Chief Judge Sutel, all the members of the state court system, and to the municipal court judges who are present here today. We know the most powerful judges in the state. Thank you for all attending. To all the governmental leaders, public safety leaders, military leaders, educational leaders, thank you. To all of you who are here today, and to you watching at home or streaming this on the internet around the world, our family humbly thanks you. My mom, the wife for 62 years, the mother of 5 kids, born in 7 years, and as she says, back then we didn't know any better. She's the strongest one. She's the strongest one. Mom, thank you for everything. Thank you for keeping us strong through this difficult period. Thank you for taking care of Dad every day. You know, my dad was a high school teacher, a wrestling coach, living on a second-floor apartment where Federal Hill meets Onlyville. I was born, my brother David was born. The second-floor apartment got a little too tight. We moved 2 blocks to Vinton Street. It's 60 years since that move. My dad still loves staying in that house. He loved being in Providence. He loved Rhode Island. I can't thank all of you enough for being part of my dad's life. We will be forever grateful. We will continue his good deeds and make him proud. Dad, I love you. We will all be strong, and we will continue to carry out your instructions. Family comes first, and the extended family of Rhode Island and all his friends around the world. He thanks you, and we thank you for everything.
You know, my father wasn't one for big events, but he would love this. And it's not the pageantry, it's not the honor guards of the judges of the Order of Malta, of the community from Providence College, of his friends and family. It's not the beautiful, beautiful cathedral that we're in. It's a room full of his friends, in a room filled with love for each other and for what he stood for, because everybody in this room does their best to spread that kindness, to spread that compassion throughout their daily lives. So we thank you all for being here. I'd like to thank also Archbishop Henning and all the celebrants in today's services, and those watching around the world for the prayers that you have sent to us, and to my mom, as Frank mentioned, who had 5 of us in 7 years. She provided a home filled with love, laughter, and lots of food, often including chicken cutlets and a big bowl of rigatoni on the table every night. This was no easy task with 5 of us, growing as children and often our friends. We also had 2 large St. Bernards, who my mother also had to feed. Their dinner included dry gravy-train dog food and chicken cutlets and a bowl of rigatoni. When my father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, he asked for prayers, and the world responded with millions of prayers, and he felt each one. Bishop Henning actually came to our home to pray with my father. At that time, my father was weak from the chemotherapy. And when you arrived, he had difficulty coming down the stairs to sit with you, Bishop. But his soul was filled with the Holy Spirit by the time you left. You know, we were able to film a brief part of that afternoon of the 2 of you praying together. And we posted it online, and it instantly went viral. The simple act of praying resonated around the world. It actually outperformed the Pope's post that week, believe it or not, Bishop. And shortly thereafter, you were elevated to Archbishop. Just saying. You know, my father and I, as was mentioned, worked together every day for decades. I helped him with his speeches sometimes and traveled with him to all his appearances, as most of us did. We traveled around the world. He gave speeches across Italy, across the United Arab Emirates, gave speeches in India to receive the Mother Teresa Award, and across America. Then, at 86 years old, he really hunkered down. Time to have a new venture, and he wrote his book called Compassion in the Court, which was #1 on Amazon's bestseller list in his category when it was released. The question is, why? Why did people around the world, of all races, of all religions, of all ethnicities, flock to see and listen to Judge Frank Caprio? You know, there may be millions that watch this service today because of what he did. Why was it, and what was it, about the son of Italian immigrants who grew up without hot water in Providence's Little Italy neighborhood that is so inspirational around the globe? What is it that inspired his family's hometown of Tiano, Italy, to have a days-long celebration of parades, dedications, and of course, great Italian food when he visited a few years ago to see the actual room where his father was born, where his family lived before they came to America? A small, dirt-floored room with 1 light bulb and 1 window, where his grandparents, his father, and 4 of his father's siblings lived before they came to America. You know, he was asked that question many times, including recently, just a few weeks ago, on the Mel Robbins podcast. And his answer was very simple. He said, "I did nothing special. I only did what my parents taught me. And they taught me by their actions, not by their words. I just treated people when I was in a position of authority with understanding, compassion, and love. That's basically what I've done in life." And that's what resonates around the world. His father was his idol, and the primary motivation throughout his life was to try to make his father proud. He often said that his father showed him that it's very easy to be kind to people, and that even the smallest gesture can literally change someone's life. And it's not only financial help. You can change the course of someone's life, even by just putting your hand on someone's shoulder and telling them that you believe in them and that you love them. And if there's anything they need, I'm here for you. That doesn't take much for us to do. But for someone in despair, it's like moving a mountain. And that's what he did every day. You know, when we all watched my father do his work from the bench, he often faced somebody that was new to America, was fearful in being in front of a judge, because let's face it, usually when someone is standing in front of a judge anywhere in the world, it might not end well. Present judges excluded. Judges, we know, you're all good. But really, in some parts of the world, even in some parts of America, it's not a pleasant day if you're standing in front of a judge. I can tell you from my father's perspective, he was looking at them, standing there. But what he was seeing was his grandmother, his parents, and all his neighbors as a child who had the same fears, the same challenges, and the same dreams as the people in his court every day. So when he was dispensing his compassionate justice, he wasn't helping a stranger. They were his family. Through his own family's experiences, he was honoring all that have come to America with the hopes and dreams that their children's lives would be substantially better than their own. And if he could put his hand on their shoulder, even if only for a moment, he proudly used his authority to lift them up. You know, with your indulgence, I'd like to tell very briefly how Caught in Providence was born. My father's younger brother, Joe, Uncle Joe, who's here in the front, had some time on the public access channel, you know, like the Wayne's World channel. And he would film things around Providence. And back then, with the bulky tapes and the antiquated editing machine, it was quite an ordeal just to get something ready to put on television. And he ran out of things to film. So we were having a family dinner one night, and he asked if we knew of any events going on that he might be able to go video so he could put them on the public access channel. And my mother said, "Why don't you film your brother's courtroom? There must be some interesting people that come there." To which my father strongly, immediately, emphatically said, "Absolutely not. We are not bringing cameras in my courtroom." So after about 2 minutes of more discussion, we all see who won that discussion. And my Aunt Irene, Joe's wife, came up with the catchy name, Caught in Providence, and the rest is history. And from that day until in the 1990s, until his last day as a judge in 2023, Joe was next to his brother in court every day, and for over 20 years, until it got syndicated nationally, he did it at his own expense, without pay, for the love of his brother. And that has made all the difference. So let's all thank Uncle Joe, as it was equally his efforts that allow the world to be inspired by people that were caught in Providence. Thank you, Uncle Joe. You know, most people know my dad as a judge, but he had a very active life when he was not on the bench. He started his professional career at 10 years old, shining shoes on Atwells Avenue. Then he wanted to earn a little more money, so he went to work for the Providence Journal, putting the newspapers together and delivering them around his neighborhood. Then he volunteered on my grandfather's milk truck, where my grandfather would wake him up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he would deliver the milk up and down the tenement houses of Federal Hill early in the morning with his father. At Central High School, he won the Rhode Island State Wrestling Championship and was proud that his Letterman sweater still fit him throughout his life. He served on the Providence City Council. He was elected in his early 20s, defeating a 30-year incumbent in a stunning upset. It's the community that had watched him grow up. They opened the doors when he was delivering milk and delivering the newspapers. He was the future. He proudly served our country in the Rhode Island National Guard, and they are here today to honor him. He was the first person in his entire extended family, which included 20 aunts and uncles, over 50 first cousins. He was the first one to attend college, and Providence College gave him that opportunity. And the Friars Club is here today honoring him. He was a high school teacher and wrestling coach at Hope High School after graduating from Providence College so that he could attend Suffolk Law School at night, making the grueling drive from Providence to Boston each evening. He was an entrepreneur. He joined two close friends buying the Coast Guard House restaurant in Narragansett in the late 1970s, which is now a destination of its own, which has been nationally recognized. He also was proud to be a partner in the Cherry Hill Nursing Home and developed senior housing for those seniors that were in need. He was a boxing promoter. Many of you may remember those fun days. For about 10 years, he brought championship boxing back to Providence. And let's not forget that he was also an attorney for 65 years, where me, my brother Frank, and our cousin Anthony had the pleasure and privilege to work next to him and learn from him throughout all of our career. He was still coming to our office every day until just a few weeks ago. And of course, as you have heard today, he was a devoted family man who never missed a sporting, political, or family event for any of us. He even threw out, and this was a big thrill for him, he even threw out the first pitch at Fenway Park a few years ago. That alone is pretty impressive. But this was for a Red Sox-Yankees game, which made it all the more special. The Red Sox gave him a jersey, and on the back it had his name, Caprio, and the number 19. Well, good guys won that day, and the score was 19-3, and he took full credit for that. Sorry for all the Yankee fans that may be here today, but that was a very special day for him. And he even made time to squeeze in a delicious lunch and card game with his closest friends at his beloved Aurora Club up the street on Broadway. So I say to you that the person that we see presiding in the Providence Municipal Court, it wasn't an act. It wasn't something that was made for television. It was the way my father conducted his life. He had a tremendous ability to connect with people and bring out all that was good in them. So as I stand here today, it's difficult because try as I might to describe him, it is really an impossible task. He once described his philosophy of life in a speech that he gave 20 years ago. And that was when he was invited to the State House here in Rhode Island for the St. Joseph's Day celebration that the legislature does every year. Now remember, this was before he was on national television. This was before social media was even a thing. He was not on social media. I don't even think there was a TikTok or maybe not even a Facebook back then. And with your indulgence, I would like you to listen to how he approached life from this speech 20 years ago.
Ladies and gentlemen, I come before you today as only a kid from Federal Hill, whose mother, when she was pregnant to me, could not afford prenatal care. And so she walked down to the Federal Hill House in all kinds of weather to stand in line with a bunch of others who could not afford it. And as she walked home, she would pass a grocery store that had canned peaches in the window. And she would crave for a can of peaches. But she couldn't afford it. My father came here as a fruit peddler, pushing a pushcart in all kinds of weather. During the Depression, worked WPA, and then got his big job. He became a milkman. And my father taught us what it meant to be really strong and really tough. And that was not by knocking someone out or insulting someone or pushing them around or looking down on them or saying no when they needed help. It was by doing the right thing. He showed how tough he was because when he was sick, he'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and he went to work. And when he had the sniffles, he went to work. And when he was very sick, he went to work. And my mother got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and made sure he had breakfast. That's the environment in which I was brought up. And so I say, let us reach out a helping hand to other people. I became a lawyer because when I was 10 years old in a cold water flat on Federal Hill next to a pot-belly stove, my father sat me down and put his hand on my shoulder and said, I will never be able to afford to send you to college, but you have to go. And you are going to be a lawyer. But don't ever, ever give up. Don't ever, ever give up. He ignited that flame, and even when times got so tough that I couldn't afford to go, and I had to teach days and drive to Boston at night, I never, ever would let him down and never, never would put that flame out. And so I say that we can all help. We can all lend a helping hand. It doesn't take any money. Sometimes it takes putting your hand on someone's shoulder. Sometimes it's telling them you care. It's just giving them direction, give them advice. Treat them with civility and decency and respect and compassion, which is missing in this world today. And that's how we can make this a better world. And so I come before you today really, really humbled that I have this opportunity. I really do. I get emotional about it because I still view myself as a skinny kid, freezing in a cold water flat on Federal Hill, going downstairs to get the oil in the winter. And you have bestowed upon me the honor to address you today. I want you to know that's very important to me. I come to you as someone who had 19 aunts and uncles, none of whom attended high school. I come to you today as a humble person, trying to give you advice on what's important in this world. And so, my friends, I think the challenge of our generation is to honor the memory of our forefathers by providing a better life for those who follow us. Our challenge is not to get all that we can, but to give all that we can. We must reach deep within the soul that has moved America, reach for the dreams and values of those who came before us, those who gave so much and took so little. I ask that we think of the homeless, the poor, the downtrodden. Think of the sick, the helpless, the hungry, the less fortunate. Remember the elderly. Remember your parents and your grandparents. Remember the underprivileged and the persecuted. Fight against injustice, bigotry, and racism. And when the book is closed, because these are our challenges, someday the book is going to be closed on all of us. And when that book is closed, and whether we are judged on whether or not we met this challenge, we're not going to be judged on how much we have taken, but by how much we have given. We're not going to be judged by the dreams that we made come true for ourselves. We're going to be judged by the dreams that we made come true for others. We're going to be judged by the hope that we inspire in the hopeless, and the difference that we make in the lives that we touch.
And that speech was given with no notes that day. So, Dad, you navigated that long, bumpy road that Grandpa described in your autograph book that Sophia mentioned. You paved a wide path of kindness, compassion, and understanding. You provided hope to the world, and most importantly, you made Grandpa proud. And we all know he couldn't wait to tell you as soon as he greeted you last week. We promise to keep putting our hand on someone's shoulder in your honor. God bless you, Dad. We love you.